here we are again with the fourth part of the history of experience, and this time we deal with the human brain and culture. Now, when we look into the history of the living beings, we see that experience starts with having senses and a brain who processes the information. So initially, experience is equal to data processing. With Homo sapiens, we come to a brain which is the most complicated in the entire world of living beings. And that has distributed all over the world this type of species, the Homo sapiens, starting from about 200,000 before our present and ending about 12,000 before our present by those people who traveled to North and South America. In between, they have populated the entire world, and they all had the same brains. Pretty similar to what the Neanderthals have. So since the times of the Neanderthals and our early forefathers and mothers, the Homo sapiens of early times, the evolutionary preconditions of having experienced all sorts of already existed. But how come that it can change over time? Now the reason is very simple. Because the abilities of our brain are things that are usually dormant unless they get stimulated by some kind of cultural input. Now, to take just one example that everybody knows, each of us has run through the same process when we're acquired the ability to listen, to understand, and to speak. We know from the analysis of the genome structure of Neanderthals and human beings, Homo sapiens, that we all have the same kind of brain with the same kind of, areas that function in a certain way. So, to be able to speak and to understand, we all need what is called the Broca area and the Wernicke area. I show it here. This is Wernicke area for the understanding of speech. And here's the Broca area for the production of speech. Now, all the brains for the past 300,000 years or even longer had these parts. But for most of the time, people wouldn't speak because there was no speech, there was no language. And that is the same with us. Babies have all these parts right from the start, but they start listening, understanding, and speaking only if someone talks to them. So the brain needs a cultural input by actual people speaking an actual language to get started. This is kind of interesting because we usually would see that evolution just is a total equipment that instantly provides us with everything that we need. You get feet to run away, you get hands to catch food, you have eyes to see, whatever. But most parts of the brain just don't work that way. They need an input to get started. So, actually what happens in the history of mankind, and womankind as well, is that all these parts need to be some sort of exercise, a stimulation to get started. And when you get back to situations where certain parts were sort of undiscovered and unknown, we have a long period of what I call incubation, where the potential that we have in our brains gets discovered by, and then first articulated, then people invent a method to train it, and then it becomes an institution. And we will look into this throughout the upcoming parts and throughout the ages. This was the part on the human brain and culture, and what is coming next is part 5 that will deal with theory and history and the dynamics of history, which give an outline of how that works if we look into human history. Thank you for today.